High above the clouds, on a majestic flying castle forged from dark stone and ethereal magic, two figures engaged in a fierce battle. One was a man clad in silver armor, wielding a radiant blade. The other wore a pitch-black suit of metallic armor. As they locked eyes, they vanished just before colliding, unleashing a spectacular clash of magical energy. The man in gleaming silver armor gripped his enchanted sword tightly, facing his opponent with unshaken determination. His piercing blue eyes met the fiery gaze of the adversary, whose twisted, horned visage exuded malevolence. The dark figure unfurled obsidian wings, casting a shadow over the battlements of the soaring fortress. A thunderous roar echoed as the two warriors clashed, forcing them both to momentarily retreat. Each bore similar damage. The hero left trails of radiant energy from his enchanted blade, while the demon exuded fumes of shadowy darkness, manifestations of their opposing powers. The demon taunted the hero, questioning his strength and intelligence. The hero retorted that words had ended and urged the demon to accept his fate at the blade's edge. The demon then unleashed a surge of dark energy, summoning demonic heads that hurled toward the hero. Just before impact, the hero's silvery armor glowed, mysterious symbols weaving into a luminous shield that dispersed the fiendish spell. The demon asked how the hero could counter his death spell. The hero explained that the goddess protected him, rendering the demon's mana ineffective. Without hesitation, the hero charged forward, and their battle intensified, becoming more direct and brutal. The castle walls crumbled under their relentless magical and physical attacks until both warriors burst through the ceiling, continuing their duel beneath the night sky. Their confrontation soared through the open air as they exchanged blows and magical projectiles that lit the darkness. The flying castle became riddled with holes from the barrage before they landed on a large, flat section of a collapsed roof. The hero gradually gained the upper hand, signaling the impending end of the epic clash. The hero swung his radiant blade with precision, each strike guided by divine energy. The demon collapsed onto his knees in defeat. Though breathless, the hero grinned triumphantly and pointed his sword at the fallen adversary. He declared the end for the Demon King, a burden, proclaiming that his reign of terror was over and that humanity had won. The Demon King laughed while clutching his severed shoulder. His regenerative powers failed due to the holy energies corrupting his wound. The hero demanded to know what was so funny, declaring the demon had lost. The demon replied that the hero's stupidity overshadowed his might and asked if he had realized the truth yet. The hero kept his gaze fixed on the weakened demon, wary of any last trick. The demon remained on the ground, eyes fixed on something behind the hero. When the hero denied falling for tricks and urged the demon to die with dignity, the demon warned that the hero's so-called allies intended to bury them both. Laughter erupted from the Demon King as the night sky brightened. The hero turned and saw numerous bright rays streaking through the sky, resembling a massive meteor shower. He questioned why this was happening, noting that the Magitech cannons were supposed to activate only if he failed, but he was still alive. He produced a white medallion adorned with the Alliance's symbol and frantically activated it, attempting to communicate with his allies to halt the impending disaster. To his horror, there was no response. His allies had turned a deaf ear. The Demon King revealed that the hero's allies had abandoned him, suggesting they never wanted someone as powerful as the hero to exist, and that the hero had been a mere puppet in the war. The hero's eyes widened in realization as the meteor shower aimed to obliterate both him and the Demon King simultaneously. Betrayal struck deeper than any wound. Desperate to survive, the hero channeled his remaining energy into a protective barrier, creating a shimmering dome around himself and the Demon King. The celestial meteors collided with the magical shield, causing a spectacular explosion of light and energy that sent shockwaves through the sky. For a moment, survival seemed possible, but the hero had exhausted most of his energy in the battle. Soon, the explosions engulfed the area, shattering the radiant shield and tossing his body toward the Demon King. The last thing he saw before darkness claimed him were the Demon King's eyes filled with pity. Both warriors died that day, their immense rage silenced by the massive explosions that consumed the Demon Castle. Once bitter enemies, they shared the same tragic fate as the remnants of the flying castle rained down like a celestial funeral pyre, marking the end of an era. The hero's life flashed before his eyes. His arrival in this strange world, memories of the beautiful princess who welcomed him, and years of training and hardship leading to this moment, only to realize that everything might have been a lie, planned from the beginning. Strange visions of a younger, horned boy filled the dying hero's mind as he faded away. He saw the boy weeping over the charred remains of other horned beings, presumably his parents, sensing the boy's sadness and indignation along with many old memories of past deeds. Soon, both the hero and the demon king vanished into the void, their consciousness extinguished. From a safe distance, the people responsible observed the shockwaves colliding with their armies and magical weaponry. A woman in an intricate nun's habit, standing amidst the group, asked with authority and sadness whether the hero could have survived. A man clad in elaborate mage robes replied that survival was unlikely given the immense explosion, and their plan to eliminate both the hero and demon king seemed successful. The woman, Sister Seraphina, scowled at the mention of the planned assassination, insisting it was God's will to prevent ruin upon the kingdom. Seraphina agreed, referencing Prince Leander's wish. Prince Leander, an elven man of unparalleled grace and elongated ears, stood observing the aftermath from a distance. His keen eyes scanned the horizon for survivors among the smoldering debris of the once mighty flying castle and the scarred ground below. As the armies advanced toward the crash site, the elf turned to leave while the others moved in. After days of sorting through rubble, Malachi approached the epicenter, examining the charred remains and scanning for magical residue. He declared with certainty that both the hero and demon king were no more and their plan had succeeded. Unbeknownst to them, the consequences of their actions would unfold unpredictably, and fate's threads were not so easily severed. While the epic tale of the hero and demon king had reached its tragic conclusion, another journey was about to begin. In a void filled with darkness, a newly awakened creature without form floated comfortably. It resembled a gray amoeba, lacking intelligence or awareness of its existence, drifting without care. It sensed only faint sensations on its outer shell and occasionally bumped into similar shapeless beings, their bodies bouncing off each other. Unlike the others, this creature exhibited curiosity, attempting to bend its body to maneuver and poking others upon collision. During one such curious moment, a strange phenomenon entered the space filled with shapeless creatures. Most recoiled from the unfamiliar presence, but the curious gray being moved toward the cluster of strange energies and collided with it. Upon contact, a bright light illuminated the void, revealing the endless expanse and countless pale, jellyfish-like entities composed of energy rather than flesh. The light caused them pain, scattering them. The curious creature felt new emotions it could not comprehend. Anger, sadness, and rage surged through it. Strange visions of unknown worlds and events flooded its core, altering it. The entity it contacted appeared as a bundle of white and black energy, and the gray creature began absorbing this energy, triggering a transformation. Its dull gray surface first turned pure white, resembling pristine snow, then darkened as the absorbed dark and radiant energies battled within its body. The newborn creature experienced pain as its body was torn apart by conflicting energies, accompanied by strange visions. It saw a peculiar being with pointed protrusions on its head, surrounded by similar entities bowing in worship. The vision then shifted to another individual without pointed extremities, accompanied by fewer creatures displaying unfamiliar expressions. Alongside these images, the formless being received an overwhelming influx of information that nearly caused its body to collapse. To preserve itself, it attempted to contain the conflicting energies within its body and miraculously succeeded. Its form, which had been shifting between two colors, settled into a darkened silver luster that remained. The proto-nucleus evolved into the divine demon nucleus. Its body retained a similar shape but doubled in size, the grayish tone replaced by a shiny dark silver shell. The information overload subsided, though the energies persisted. Before the being could contemplate its situation, strange rifts began appearing throughout the void, emitting various colors and beckoning its inhabitants. The other grayish amoebas were drawn to these rifts and willingly entered them. The curious creature felt less compelled but noticed one rift calling to it and slowly moved toward it, responding to the summons. As it passed through the rift, it felt as if pushing through a strange membrane and became momentarily stuck due to its enlarged body. After shifting back and forth several times, it squeezed through and found itself in an unfamiliar place. Its senses expanded, and it sensed its shape changing to fill something new. A commanding voice echoed, ordering it to arise. The being opened its eyes, or the equivalent, and took in the new scenery. The void was gone, replaced by an unfamiliar landscape. It sensed that its previously shapeless body had transformed, observing rigid protrusions allowing only limited movement. It attempted to move these new limbs, producing screeching and rattling sounds as it tried to propel itself forward. Progress was slow, but it began understanding how to use the new body, identifying the upper limbs as arms and the lower as legs. The beings mocked its demise in a language it could not fully comprehend. Before it could rise, a fast-moving object struck its head, sending it airborne. It rolled across the area before stopping near one of its enemy's feet. It saw the rusted metallic shell it once occupied, a humanoid form. The creature blamed the commanding voice for its failure, recognizing the enemies were too strong and its body too weak. It remained helpless as the humanoid assailants struck it repeatedly with a heavy metal object. Its vision blurred until only the void awaited. This new void was colder and emptier than before. The uncomfortable silence was broken by the same voice, clearer this time, summoning it again. The being felt a surge of energy and emerged in a dimly lit chamber adorned with strange symbols and runes on the walls. The air was thick with otherworldly essence, and it found itself in the same rusted metallic form as before. Its memories grew clearer, and it comprehended its existence as a metallic creature. It examined its limbs, rusted metal plates with many small holes that produced loud sounds. It realized these noises hindered survival, learning from its previous encounter that movement attracted humanoid assailants eager to destroy it. In the collapsed temple, a lone corroded suit of armor stood before a small circular basin filled with water. It gazed into the basin and saw its reflection, a head resembling a knight's helmet. As memory surfaced, the creature gained knowledge that identified it as a monster found in dungeons, classified as living armor. Focusing on its rusted reflection, the creature felt a strange desire to understand itself. Suddenly, floating words with strange symbols materialized before it, revealing a status screen containing the information it sought. The status screen displayed: classification, damaged corroded bronze armor, F-L1 type, magical/inorganic hit points, HP, 10 out of 10 magic points MP, 10 out of 10 special points SP, 10/10 strength, 5 F-agility, 1 F-dexterity, 2 F-constitution, 5 F-intelligence, 2 F-wisdom, 5 F-willpower, 2 F-durability, F. The armor attempted to grasp the floating table with its metallic hands but passed through it. After several tries, it ceased, understanding some things in this world could only be observed, not touched. It studied the numbers and letters, uncertain of their meaning, noting the frequent appearance of the letter F and the brackets accompanying strange numbers. As it continued to examine the screen, a secondary smaller table appeared, filled with text and separated into sections labeled Skill List and Basic Attributes. The creature read the skills. Basic power/active skill: perform a powerful/attack lesser metal body. Passive skill: increases the body's defense. Defense depends on durability. The last skill was obscured by question marks, and despite prolonged observation, no further information appeared. The creature pondered whether this was a sufficient set of skills but recalled its previous defeat and concluded it was not. It questioned its identity and purpose, wondering why it was compelled to attack others and why it had returned after being destroyed. An internal voice emerged, clarifying its thoughts and prompting contemplation of its existence. The creature reread its classification aloud. Damaged, corroded bronze armor. It sensed something was amiss, recognizing that a name should carry familiarity and intimacy, which this description lacked. It focused on the word corroded, then associated it with rust, which resonated deeply. At that moment, the status window shifted as if responding to its realization. The clacking, corroded body began to emit a pale light. A new window appeared, announcing the acquisition of a named monster title. The updated status read, Name, Rusty Classification, Damaged Corroded Bronze Armor, F-L1 Type, Magical/Inorganic Hit Points, HP, 15/15 Magic Points, MP, 15/15 Special Points, SP, 15/15 Strength, 10, F-Agility, 6, F-Dexterity, 7, F-Constitution, 10, F-Intelligence, 7, F-Wisdom, 10, F-Willpower, 7, F-Durability, F. The named monster title appeared beside the skills section, accompanied by a description explaining it granted bonuses and unlocked evolution options. Rusty did not fully grasp the meaning but understood that evolution was crucial for survival. The numbers had more than doubled in some attributes, and Rusty felt its body moving more fluidly, capable of exerting greater force. Its mind cleared, and it realized it identified as male, a notion supported by the memories it absorbed. With this newfound self-awareness, Rusty prepared to address the mysteries of the temple, the voice commanding it, and the other creatures inhabiting the area. As Rusty finished examining itself, another creature passed by, a skeletal being unlike Rusty's metallic form. The skeleton showed no interest and rattled onward. Rusty wondered what that being was. Rusty observed the strange walking pile of bones, noting its similar but much thinner humanoid shape and different gait. As he stared, words appeared hovering above the creature's head. Lesser Skeleton L1. This identification triggered another pop-up window, but Rusty was less surprised this time and read the information provided. He acquired the identification skill, now listed under his skills as a passive ability used for identifying the unknown. Unlike previous skills, no numbers increased, suggesting this title functioned differently. Rusty felt information related to the skill injected into his core and instinctively tested it by identifying nearby objects. He identified a rock as just a regular-looking rock, the dungeon floor as the floor inside a dungeon, water as just some possibly dirty water, and rubble as rough fragmented stones once part of something. These descriptions offered little new information, but the skill intrigued him, so he continued exploring the dark chamber. When he identified a destroyed statue, he recognized it as once depicting a goddess from a temple, its features more feminine than masculine with a mostly destroyed wing attached. As he examined it, a sound within his being announced the identification skill had reached level 2, informing him of new possibilities. Rusty realized leveling up skills was advantageous and that higher levels were better. He reevaluated himself and his capabilities, noting the corroded sword in his right hand, similar in damage to his metallic body. Though not sharp or durable, it was his weapon. His lumbering speed matched that of the lesser skeletons, and while the new title slightly boosted his attributes, he did not feel significantly more powerful, nor did any letters change. The voice inside his head echoed again, crackling and quieter but still commanding him to patrol, move, protect. A strange path appeared before him, as if he viewed the scenery from a different vantage point. Rusty knew the voice wanted him to move to a specific spot and felt compelled to obey. He questioned the disembodied voice, asking who it was and if it had made him, but it remained silent. After a minute, it repeated the same message and Rusty obeyed, sensing something bad might happen if he did not. He moved through the strange place where he had appeared, the void he came from now a distant memory. With his identification skill in overdrive, Rusty scanned everything in the chamber. Crumbled statues, shattered pillars, remains of unidentified creatures, and corridors illuminated by braziers. He encountered more creatures similar to the lesser skeleton, varying in appearance and gear, some wielding swords, spears, maces, shields, and wearing rusty armor like his own. When Rusty approached another corroded armor piece, he eagerly attempted to greet it, but it did not acknowledge him, just like the skeletons who seemed unable to see him or each other. They lumbered along similar paths dictated by the voice's orders. After multiple encounters, Rusty noticed patterns in the creature's behavior, realizing they did not act independently but under some unseen influence. The voice in his head, the emerging paths, and the monster's scripted movements all pointed to a controlling force orchestrating events within the dungeon. Though this force affected Rusty, he sensed he could resist it to some extent. While compelled to follow the given path, he could briefly venture away, only to be reminded by the voice until he returned. This nagging control annoyed him, but he remained unable to free himself from it. After hours of exploration, Rusty arrived in a wide chamber lit by torches, braziers, and a small crack in the ceiling that let in natural light. Drawn to this contrast, he moved toward the illuminated spot where light radiated onto a tree stump. There, a lone green leaf rested on a thin branch, an anomaly in the dark, rusted dungeon that sparked a strange connection. Rusty extended his metallic hand and gently picked up the leaf, marveling at its vibrant green color. It felt fragile yet alive, starkly different from his damaged form. Using his identification skill, he quickly learned it was a leaf of vitality, which, once consumed, slightly raised the constitution attribute. Though interested, Rusty was confused. As a sentient piece of armor, not a true living being, he wondered how consumption would work. Recalling some memories, he saw images of humanoid creatures placing things into their upper orifices and questioned if he should do the same. The suit of armor Rusty inhabited featured a proper helmet and visor. Mimicking the memories he had seen, he opened the visor and placed the leaf of vitality inside the helmet, but the leaf simply fell into the empty space within his armor. It remained there without its essence being absorbed, and Rusty's constitution did not increase. Confused yet trusting the identification skill, Rusty suspected there might be a way to gain something from the leaf. Though Rusty was beginning to decipher their language, he was still unsure of their exact message until a word echoed clearly in his mind: "Kill!" Curiosity and wariness stirred within Rusty. The loud voice compelled him to move forward, but memories of being struck down by similar creatures stayed vivid. Rusty noted their purposeful movements and realized this was called strategy. Though initially tempted to charge mindlessly, Rusty restrained himself, recalling his previous defeat and deciding to observe instead. An idea formed. He could use the environment to his advantage and approach the group from an unexpected angle. As the battle unfolded, Rusty stealthily navigated the shadows, applying his newfound understanding of tactics. He advanced from an angle the adventurers overlooked, blending in with the other monsters. Drawing closer, Rusty analyzed the adventurer's skills. The human in worn-out armor displayed remarkable strength and durability, deflecting attacks with his sword. The elven archer exhibited agility and precision, dodging strikes and firing accurate arrows. The shorter member wielded a massive warhammer, delivering crushing blows. The voice in Rusty's mind repeated "kill," fueling his animosity toward the group until it became unbearable. Gripping his sword tightly, Rusty leaped from behind a collapsed pillar, closing the distance despite his initial plan to approach more cautiously. The leader shouted a warning to the elven archer as Rusty targeted them. The human swiftly positioned himself between Rusty and the archer. Rusty felt a surge of excitement as he swung his sword downward with both hands, activating his skill basic power slash. A red glow enveloped the weapon, increasing the speed and weight of the strike, his chance to defeat the enemy. The opponent hastily raised his sword to guard, but Rusty's blade connected despite the man being slightly off balance and caught off guard by the surprise attack. The corroded weapon failed to fully penetrate the worn-out armor protecting the leader's shoulder. Instead of severing the limb as Rusty had envisioned, the sword shattered upon impact, leaving only an indentation where the power slash had landed. The adventurer leader seethed with rage, feeling sharp pain in his shoulder despite the armor holding. Rusty, now weaponless, attempted to tackle the enemy, but was repelled by a boot striking his chest plate, sending him crashing back against the collapsed pillar where he had been hiding. Some of his armor pieces scattered upon impact. The adventurers intensified their assault, determined to finish the fight. The low-level monsters were unable to land any effective blows against the 4 skilled fighters, falling swiftly even when outnumbering them 5-1. Before he could react, the shortest adventurer wielding a large warhammer struck him. The slender member of the group warned the stockier one to be careful because one of the monsters had the vitality leaf inside, but the warning was largely ignored. The battle concluded with the adventurers victorious, the chamber now silent except for heavy breathing and the clinking of sheathed weapons. The leader, still nursing his injured shoulder, focused on the battered living armors they had intentionally left intact. Frustrated, the leader muttered about the vitality leaf possibly being inside one of the armors and turned to a female party member who looked annoyed by his insinuation. He defended himself, asking why he would lie. Then, venting his anger, he kicked the helmet of the damaged armor, which flew to land between the woman's legs. She picked it up, frowning. The leader had thrust his hand through the hole, searching for the vitality leaf Rusty had swallowed. Rusty realized his extreme weakness. Despite sneaking up and using his strongest skill, he had failed to inflict serious damage. The gap in power and speed between him and the humanoid adventurers was insurmountable. The young monster felt disheartened and uncertain about his next move. Though a desire to grow stronger and achieve victory welled within him, the path forward was unclear, and a sense of impending defeat loomed, echoing his previous loss. The leader extracted the leaf, confirming the female party member's earlier belief. His fellow monsters faced the same fate, being searched and then hammered to death. Rusty resigned himself to inevitable demise, preparing to enter the void once more. Yet one party member acted unexpectedly. Suddenly, the familiar voice that updated him about skills and titles spoke again. Time seemed to slow as Rusty was presented with 3 skill options to learn. Universal language, a passive skill allowing understanding of the universal language in speech and writing. Basic power thrust, an active skill performing a powerful thrust attack. And basic swordsmanship, a passive skill easing sword use and required to unlock more powerful sword techniques. Rusty pondered the options, having never encountered skill acquisition presented in this way before. He considered the universal language skill but dismissed it, given his existing knowledge from memories. The power thrust intrigued him as a variant of his power slash, but the third option was clear. He needed more potent skills, not similar ones. He chose basic swordsmanship as the obvious path forward. The voice asked for confirmation to learn the skill, presenting 2 choices, a large green yes button and a red no button. Rusty quickly focused on the green button, confirming his decision. The voice then announced the beginning of the skill absorption process. Meanwhile, the adventurer wearing Rusty's helmet felt something was off. Though the helmet had settled on his head, he hadn't sensed any danger since the creature was defeated and the helmet disconnected from the body. However, when he tried to remove it, the helmet refused to budge. The adventurer wearing Rusty's helmet struggled, exclaiming that it wouldn't come off and expressing discomfort. To everyone's surprise, their party leader was not pretending. Moments after the helmet settled on his head, he dropped to one knee, clutching his head in sharp pain as if pierced by something. Despite gripping the helmet tightly, he could not remove it, and it began to glow, signaling that something was happening. He begged for the helmet to be removed, and the other adventurers frantically tried to help, but the helmet resisted all attempts. The glow intensified, enveloping both helmet and head, causing growing concern among the group. The dwarven member then grabbed his warhammer, instructed the others to back away, and prepared to strike. The others hesitated, but the dwarf insisted there was no time. Their leader lowered his hands, allowing the dwarf to aim carefully. The dwarf's hammer flew at the corroded helmet with precision, and upon impact, the helmet was blasted off, landing to the side. The leader's head was bruised and bleeding, but he remained alive. The others quickly poured a red liquid over the wound, which miraculously alleviated the pain and began healing the injury. The elven companion asked if he was okay, to which he retorted sharply while scanning the chamber for the helmet. Grabbing the dwarf's hammer, he charged at the source of his pain and crushed the helmet under the heavier metal, breaking it into bent pieces. Out of breath, he moved toward the armor's body remains and delivered a final blow. The entity responsible for his suffering was no more, while Rusty found himself traveling through the void once again. Unbeknownst to the adventurers who believed they had defeated the monster, Rusty was being restored by forces within the dungeon. In another corner of the dungeon, a new suit of corroded armor shivered as life returned to it. Occupied by the entity that had caused the adventurer leader so much grief, it raised both metallic hands as if cheering itself on. Though defeated, it seemed unfazed. This encounter had granted it something new, perhaps a path to greater strength. Rusty stood among two identical suits of armor, but his movements were strange and wild, unlike the others who showed no reaction. He rejoiced as he examined the skill window displaying two new skills, one absorbed from the adventurer, and another that had appeared mysteriously, with all question marks gone. The active skill was skill absorption, which allowed him to absorb and learn compatible skills if certain criteria were met. The passive skill was basic swordsmanship, which made wielding a sword easier and was required to unlock more powerful sword skills. Rusty wondered why the question marks had disappeared, but was more focused on the joy of gaining two new skills, indicating increased strength. He felt the basic swordsmanship skill improving his control over his corroded sword, guiding his movements and enhancing his offensive abilities. Recalling the strange incident with the human adventurer, Rusty understood that after being defeated, when part of his body was placed on the human's head, the skill activated. As a sentient suit of armor, he did not perceive the head as part of the being's. His helmet could come off if he chose. At that moment, he removed it. His visor slit acted as eyes, and he could move even without touching the helmet. While pondering, Rusty attempted to rub his metallic chin, but his helmet lay on a large rock. Nearby, two other living armors lumbered around. He had an idea and quickly grabbed his own head, appearing before his brethren. Inspired, Rusty seized the helmet of one look-alike. The other living armor stopped but did not attack, showing these beings did not see him as an enemy, controlled by the voice that commanded them all. Removing the other monster's helmet, Rusty placed his own helmet on it. To his surprise, the voice of the world that had previously presented him with skill choices did not appear. The feeling he had when occupying the human's head was absent, and he seemed unable to use the new skill this way. Undeterred, he tried the same with the second piece of corroded armor. The result was the same. The skill did not activate. Soon, the corroded armor went out to patrol its dungeon spot, leaving Rusty confused but still curious. He then approached a different type of monster, a skeleton wielding a sword and a shield resembling a washboard. Placing a metallic helmet on its head, the monster stopped but did not look out of place. A voice echoed inside Rusty's metallic head, explaining that skill absorption had failed to activate because the cooldown period had not ended, instructing him to wait longer before trying again. Rusty called out, urging the voice to wait. As Rusty considered the newly gained knowledge, the skeleton he had rested his head on began moving away. To his surprise, the monster was quite fast, forcing him to exert himself fully to keep pace. After several minutes, Rusty managed to retrieve his helmet, noticing the cooldown timer had decreased, confirming his earlier assumption. With little else to do but wait, he decided to explore the large dungeon. The voice inside Rusty's head commanded him to move, compelling him to patrol like the others. With no enemies nearby, Rusty took the opportunity to observe the dungeon more closely. He navigated the many corridors, some narrow and others spacious, the clanking of his corroded armor echoing off the stone walls adorned with dim torches casting flickering shadows. During his exploration, Rusty found an unusually spacious chamber mostly empty except for a large staircase leading downward. This was not part of the patrol route dictated by the voice, but the stairs intrigued him. As he approached, he discovered an invisible force preventing him from descending. He attempted a running start to overcome the barrier, but the voice inside his head thundered a loud, angry command. The descent was forbidden. Frozen by the powerful command, Rusty hesitated, torn between exploring the forbidden depths and obeying the voice. Ultimately, he turned away from the stairs and resumed his patrol, the voice seemingly appeased. Despite following orders, Rusty sensed the dungeon held deeper secrets and hidden passages that fueled his curiosity. The green goblins reacted hostilely, throwing rocks when he approached, and appeared to occupy their own dungeon section. The voice prohibited Rusty from entering areas marked by strange totems. Rusty noticed each monster bore a classification number, such as Skeleton L3, while his own identification level was 1. His identification skill had been increasing, revealing more information about the dungeon's inhabitants. He wondered if gaining strength depended on leveling up like his skills. The answer came unexpectedly when Rusty collided with another living armor in a narrow corridor, pushing each other against the walls. At that moment, Rusty heard a new sound, a notification that he had gained 1 experience point. He realized the source was a small spider crushed beneath his pauldron during the collision. The spider's green goo dripped down the wall as Rusty poked the corpse and checked his status screen, discovering a level indicator showing he needed 49 more experience points to level up. Rusty contemplated what defeating larger monsters might yield. He observed the other living armor lumbering along, indifferent to his presence. Unlike Rusty, these creatures did not react even if attacked. He concluded that gaining strength likely required slaying these beings, which were not truly alive. Clenching his corroded sword, Rusty approached the other armor. Despite the noise his frame made, the creature continued on its path, unaffected. Rusty raised his glowing sword to strike, but the voice inside his head commanded him to stop, labeling the other armor as an ally. The authoritative command halted his attack mid-swing. The term ally puzzled Rusty, who did not consider these creatures friends but rather prisoners bound to the voice's commands. He questioned whether allies should force others to obey and pondered the implications. The other armor resumed its patrol, undisturbed by the attempted attack. Rusty remained uncertain about the true nature of these creatures and the voice's intentions. He worried that if the voice saw him as an enemy, these so-called allies would destroy him. Aware of his own weakness, Rusty realized he could not confront the numerous monsters driven by the voice. Instead, he decided to focus on the smaller, fleshier creatures as a potential source of experience points. As he continued, Rusty gained multiple experience points from encounters with these lesser creatures, each notification reinforcing his growing understanding of how to become stronger within the dungeon. Another smaller creature fell to Rusty's sword as he continued his assault through the maze-like dungeon. He targeted smaller spiders, rats, and even slugs clinging to the walls, all of which seemed disconnected from the internal voice's control structure. Their slow reactions made them easy prey. With each successful strike, Rusty's experience points increased, the green goop from the defeated creatures splattering onto his corroded armor. Despite the gruesome appearance, he pressed on relentlessly, driven by an instinctual desire to grow stronger. Thanks to the ease of dispatching these beings, he quickly accumulated the remaining 49 experience points. A message appeared. "Congratulations, you have gained a level." Another message followed. "Congratulations, you have gained a level." Rusty's status updated. Name: Rusty. Classification: Damaged corroded bronze armor, F-L2 type. Magical/inorganic hit points, HP. 16/16 magic points, MP. 15/15 special points, SP. 6/15 strength. 11 F-+1 agility. 6 F-+0 dexterity. 7 F-+0 constitution. 11 F-+1 intelligence. 7 F-+0 wisdom. 10 F-+0 willpower. 8 F-+1 durability, F. Now a level 2 damaged rusty bronze armor, Rusty had gained 3 attribute points. Compared to the 5-point increase from his title gain, this was modest. His maximum hit points rose, and his magic points restored instantly upon leveling, but his special points remained low and regenerated slowly in comparison. Recalling his previous tests, Rusty focused on acquiring new skills. He homed in on a skeletal monster wielding a sword and shield. Rusty's helmet struck the creature's cranium, triggering a new message. Compatible skills have been found. Please choose a skill that you want to learn. Basic Shield Bash active skill, perform a bash with a shield. Although multiple compatible skills were mentioned, only one option appeared, displayed in a grayish tone rather than the usual brightness. Rusty concentrated on the skill and awaited the next message. Insufficient SP to learn this skill. Please try again when you have sufficient SP. Rusty was perplexed by the message and tried selecting the skill repeatedly. The skeletal monster eventually walked away, prompting Rusty to retrieve his helmet. He recalled that after absorbing the skill from a human, his special points had dropped to 0, meaning he would need to wait before using the absorption skill again. Despite the SP shortage, Rusty remained undeterred. He could still level up attributes by defeating small insects and rodents, a slow but steady process. With time, his resources would recover, allowing him to gain new skills. Thus, Rusty began his first leveling drive, and the small creatures that had lived in peace within the dungeon would soon learn fear.